Hey.
Alright y'all, so as we get deeper into the season, it is looking more and more likely that this Golden State Warriors season has just been a complete catastrophe from almost every angle. Between the drop in play from a bunch of their rotational players, the Draymond Green incident, and then recently we had the very tragic passing of their assistant coach Dejan Miljovic. And at this point, with them being 12th in the Western Conference, a 19-24 record, there aren't many things to look forward to for the rest of the season if you're a Warriors fan. Now with that being said, if I could offer one silver lining for them to monitor for the rest of the year, it's that Jonathan Kuminga is in the middle of a breakout. He has been absolutely hooping over the past couple of weeks, and I'm really excited to see if he's able to keep it up for the rest of the year. Specifically, in the last 6 games he's played, he's dropped 25 points per game, over 6 rebounds a game, almost 2 assists per game to go with a steal per game, and he's doing all of that while shooting 62% from the field and 58% from 3. Now obviously the 3-point percentage probably won't maintain for much longer. That'll probably drop off, and that will lead to a bit of a drop off in his scoring numbers as well, but that's besides the point. It's just been really nice to finally see him integrating himself into this rotation, into the offense, and into the defense. Because we all know how much hate the Warriors have gotten over that one draft class of him, Moses Moody, and James Wiseman, and for good reason. But at the same time, I always kind of felt that it was unfair to Kuminga and Moody because they've been pretty solid players for a majority of their career, especially when you consider how young they are and the amount of pressure they've had on their early careers playing for such a great team like the Golden State Warriors. So I'm just here to say that it's time people start to give Jonathan Kuminga his flowers, because he came into the league as a very young and very raw talent, and this has not been anywhere close to the easiest destination for him to improve and develop as a player, but he's gone and done it. I think a lot of people forget that Kuminga is still only 21 years old. There is plenty of time and room for him to continue to grow as a player, and that is something that excites me, because from what I've seen in recent games, his scoring is looking like it is getting up to par with some other great young scorers. The passing still has a ways to go, but most importantly, I think his defense has taken a huge leap, and that's what I want to start with. Because the main reason he was always in and out of this Golden State rotation is because he was never really a great defender across his first 2 seasons. He'd get caught ball watching, he'd fall asleep, he'd get blown by, he'd get out-rebounded. But I went back and watched the game from this past week of the Warriors playing the Hawks, and he was extremely locked in on that end of the court, both on ball and off ball. What stood out to me most is he was usually used as the 4-man in most of his lineups, playing alongside Draymond Green at the 5, and rather than having him defend another wing, they were using him as a point of attack defender and had him matched up on DeJounte Murray or Trent Forrest, whoever the point guard was for the Hawks. And while it makes sense because Kuminga is a very good athlete with long arms, he's bigger than most other teams' point guards, it just, it never really crossed my mind just because of how bad of a defender Kuminga had been throughout his career. But he did a stellar job in this game. He was disrupting entire possessions from that top of the key defensive spot. One possession in particular really stood out to me. And again, it wasn't just on-ball defensive stuff, he was also doing great off-ball, helping contest shots, making rotations, just doing all the little things that he just never did in the past. Not to mention, he is still very much capable of using his athleticism to jump passing lanes and poke balls away and get steals that lead to easy transition points. Now, as for the offensive side of the ball, not really much has changed from what we've seen in the past from Jonathan Kuminga. It's just that he's now doing those same things, but with much more confidence and much more patience, and it's very easy to tell that he has seen improvement on that area of the court as well. He's always been a really good option in the post for the Warriors, which is something that they have never really had in the entirety of the Draymond, Curry, and Clay era. They use the post a lot. They'll post up Draymond and run their split action with Curry and Clay, or whatever shooters they have on the court. But they've never had a player that they could just dump the ball to in the post and let him go to work. And this is something that Jonathan Kuminga continues to develop and get really good at. And not only does he have really good size and is able to use his strength in the post to get easy looks, but he's also developed a nice little turnaround fade from that short to mid-range area that he was knocking down really efficiently in this game, and he has been for quite some time now. But in addition to that, we're also seeing the Warriors start to give him the ball more just on the perimeter and letting him dribble and isolate and drive to the rim and create his own shots, which is the area that has probably seen the most improvement in terms of his offensive game. He had a couple of really tough drives and layups and just tough buckets in general. I remember this one play specifically where he just bodied the shit out of Jalen Johnson, who is not a small player in his own regard. He's even starting to develop some really nice footwork on these drives, had a really nice pump fake and step through. And on this other play, tried to do like a James Harden type pickup and Euro step through the lane, and it didn't really look that pretty, but it's good that he's trying those things and he's scoring with those moves, so they are effective. And plus, the fact that he's already starting to do those things now means that in the future, he's going to nail this move and it's going to be added to his bag, and it's probably going to be pretty deadly for a driver like Kuminga. And I already touched on the shooting a little bit at the top of the video when I was reading off the stats that, he's starting to knock down threes. He's also pretty good at knocking down deep middies. I want to say on Basketball Reference, from that 16-foot to 3-point line range, that deep mid-range, he's shooting above 50%, which is tremendous. So while it's something I definitely don't think Kuminga should rely on, it is nice to know that he is capable of knocking down deep twos and threes, even though he's not the most consistent at that shot. Overall, I would much prefer him just using his strength and physicality to get to the rim, because that's where he's at his best. Now, the area of Kuminga's game that definitely still needs a lot of improvement is his passing and playmaking off of these drives, or just in general. He did show some flashes in this Hawks game, as well as, he continues to show flashes here and there that I'll see on like Twitter or something, just from some clips posted. The two passes he made from this Hawks game specifically that I like the most is he had one assist where he was posting up and he had scored enough that the Hawks sent a pretty soft double team at him, but instead of trying to force a shot, he recognized this and he dished it out to Corey Joseph for the three. So I thought that was a great play to again point out that Kuminga is starting to understand patience on the basketball court, and he's understanding that doesn't always have to just force a shot. Even if he does have a good look, he can pass it to a teammate who has a better look. And then he did have this one really nice dump pass off of a drive to Tracy Jackson Davis, who unfortunately missed a shot, so he didn't get the assist. But this was still a good look and goes to show that Kuminga does look for people under the hoop on his drives. I'm excited to see if he's able to, kick out to shooters in the future, because that's something that I think he could do a little bit more of. But again, for the most part, it's nice that he is starting to make these passes out of his drives rather than just forcing a shot every time. Because again, I'll remind you, Jonathan Kuminga is only 21 years old. He's in his third year and he's finally seeing a solid leap. And again, there is plenty of time for him to continue to grow as a player. And because of that reason, I think Kuminga is definitely someone that the Warriors should focus on keeping with their core of Curry, Clay, and Dre, however long they decide to keep this team together. Because right now, I'm just not quite sure what the ceiling is for Jonathan Kuminga, because, with the leap he's taking this year, I could definitely see him in a couple of seasons becoming a 20-point per game scorer, someone that can also go get you like 8 rebounds, maybe a couple assists here and there. This season, at least, he's looking like he could easily become a above average and plus defender. And overall, he would just be a really good fit next to at least the Curry and Dre duo. Klay Thompson at this point I think is pretty replaceable with his skill sets, but I love the athleticism and the youth and just the rim pressure that he's able to bring to this team. I think him and Draymond in the front court should be the go-to front court for the Warriors for the rest of the season if possible. And so despite the fact that James Wiseman was a bust, Moses Moody, jury's still out on him. I still like Moses Moody, but for some reason Steve Kerr seems to hate him. I think Warriors fans should hold some pride in the fact that Jonathan Kuminga is looking like he's going to end up being a good pick, even though it has taken him a bit longer than people would have wanted. Again, he's still really young. I think it should have been known from the start that if Kuminga did end up becoming a good basketball player, it was going to take a couple years for him to get there. Regardless, we're here now, he's hooping, and I love to see it. And that's all I got for this one. As always, if you enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all of those good things, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.